What is up, my Pika crew? This is the PikaWu, and welcome to another X and Y Wi-Fi battle. This one's going to be against a guy called Guedes, but before we start this battle, I do have a couple of updates. So the first update is that I know I haven't been uploading for quite a while. I'll be uploading more frequently starting in June and July. I've been swamped with work, but after May, I'll be free to post more videos. Now, the second part of the update is going to be on PikaCharity. So if you guys don't know what PikaCharity is, it's basically going to be a 2-week charity event in which many Pokemon YouTubers will have live stream events to raise money for charity. And the charity organization that we'll be donating to will be voted on based on what the community wants to donate the money to. So basically, there's 3 parts to this update for PikaCharity. 1, you can sign up for tournaments now. The registration is live. There is an OU, UU, and VGC tournament, and the signups are free, but we encourage donations for those who want to sign up for more than one tournament. And it is for both the 3DS and for Pokemon Showdown. If you don't have a 3DS, you can use the simulator to actually play in the tournament. Now, the second part is that you guys can nominate a charity. So there is a form where you can just nominate a charity of your choice. Now, the third part of this update is that we will host a in-person tournament in New York. So if you're around the area and you're free on July 12th, there's going to be more information on it as we continue to work on this live tournament. But there is a Facebook event. If you are available or free, be sure to check out that Facebook event and join it. And the last part of this update is that if you guys want to be involved with this charity organization, if you want to be involved with the behind the scenes, if you want to be a streamer or something along the lines of that, there's a form for that as well on the website. I'll put a link in the description below too. And yeah, you can just sign up to get involved. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy the team analysis now. Now, looking at the teams, it seems like my opponent does have the team advantage, and this is because I'm using pre-Pokebank Pokemon and he is using some Pokebank Pokemon. He's also using a lot more threatening Pokemon such as Talonflame, Goodra, Scizor, Gliscor, and Genesect. And this is when Genesect was OU and not Uber, so that is legal during the time. And my team has a lot of lesser used Pokemon like Lanturn and Vivillon. But despite the disparity between the roster of our Pokemon on our teams, this still is going to be a really great battle. Now, in terms of team weaknesses, both of our teams don't really have any glaring typing weaknesses. There's no specific type that can destroy each of our teams, but my team is a little bit weak to ground, rock, and ice, while my opponent's team is a little weak to fire and ghost, and a little bit in flying and rock, because he doesn't really have any resistances to those types. In terms of threats, my team is threatened by his Gliscor, Goodra, and Gardevoir. Gardevoir because it is a huge offensive threat. Same with Goodra, and Gliscor is just a very defensive Pokemon that will be hard to take down. In terms of my Pokemon, I think Rotom Heat and Goodra are going to be very threatening to my opponent's team. Like I said, his team's a little weak to fire, so Rotom Heat takes advantage of that. And Goodra because it's just a hard hitter in general. And my opponent's team isn't really that bulky. Its only defensive Pokemon is the Gliscor, and my Goodra can deal a ton of damage with either Draco Meteor or Ice Beam against it. In terms of playstyles, I have more of a balanced offensive team because I have Lanturn, Banette, and Ferrothorn. They're more defensive support type Pokemon, and my opponent is more hyper offensive as Gliscor is the only defensive Pokemon on his team. So yeah, it's going to be a really awesome match, and I hope you guys enjoy. So my opponent's going to lead off with a Genesect, while I'm going to lead off with a Rotom Heat, actually anticipating that. Genesect is a really great lead, and if they do carry Genesect on the team, then the opponent usually will lead off with it. So I actually can counter it with the Overheat, while he can't really deal much damage back to me since I resist both his stab moves and Ice Beam and Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. So I'm basically a direct counter to his Genesect. He's forced to U-turn out. I'm actually anticipating him to bring in the Goodra because it is its only Pokemon that resists both my stab moves, my Thunderbolt, and my Overheat. So instead of going for the Volt Switch to get Switch Initiative, I'm actually going to go ahead and cripple that Goodra right away with the trick so that I lock him into one move. He loses his Assault Vest, so he's no longer as bulky. So then I can just go ahead and basically go into my Lanturn, take a hit, and see what he locks himself into. So he does choose to lock himself into Ice Beam. I guess he was predicting my switch out, but I do end up resisting that, which is really nice because he's forced to switch out, and I can go for either the Scald to burn the opponent's Pokemon on the switch, or attempt to burn it, or I can go ahead and go for the Volt Switch to get Switch Initiative. But I do decide to go into my to go for the Scald in the case that he wants to be very ballsy and go into the Gliscor to be immune of the Volt Switch and then threaten me out with an Earthquake. But he actually just brings in the Gardevoir. Luckily for me, I do get the burn, and it seems like it's going to be a solid 2-hit KO if I just go for the Thunderbolt and take him down for the next hit, since he is going to lose residual damage due to the burn. He's going to go ahead and go for the Moonblast. It shouldn't be doing too much damage, despite the fact that Gardevoir is a powerhouse. I do live with 9 HP, but the problem is he does get the special attack drop. So what that means is that my Thunderbolt isn't going to be able to take down the Gardevoir, and he is going to take me out with the burn. So that is going to be a problem because now he is going to get the switch advantage once I take down his Gardevoir next turn, instead of being a double blind switch. So I am going to go ahead and bring in my Banette because I have the Sucker Punch, I have priority, and I can take him out regardless. If he goes for a non-attacking move, he is going to die next turn to burn as long as he doesn't recover. And it seems like he doesn't have any recovering move. And yeah, so he is going to get taken out. Now, this is a problem because I did forget to Mega Evolve my into a Mega Banette, meaning that my Prankster doesn't quite work. So if I do go for the Will-O-Wisp here, he does go first. But luckily for me, he just goes for the Toxic, meaning that he didn't go for the Substitute or the Protect, and I can burn him before he sets up the Toxic Orb. But unfortunately, I do miss the Will-O-Wisp, which means he is able to set up the Toxic Orb regardless, and that's going to put me at a really uncomfortable position because Gliscor is a big threat. I do have a couple of counters, namely my Rotom Heat, because I can resist his Earthquake or be immune of it, and if he does carry the Ice Fang, I do resist that move as well, and I do carry the HP Ice, and because I'm not locked into anything with the Choice Scarf, I can go for the HP Ice and play relatively predictable. So I do reveal that I have the Hidden Power Ice on the Protect, but I am going to switch up moves here. I'm going to go ahead and go for the Overheat, anticipating him to bring in a Steel type to resist my Hidden Power Ice. I was anticipating either his Scizor or his Genesect, but he actually brings in his Goodra again, and that was a great prediction on my opponent's part, because that actually did not much damage at all. But the good thing about Goodra is that he really can't do much to me, simply because he's going to be locked into one move. So this means that Ferrothorn is a relatively safe switch-in as long as he just doesn't go for the Fire Blast. And luckily for me, he went for the Sludge Bomb. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Leech Seed on the switch. It's a pretty safe move. He doesn't really have anything that resists the Leech Seed. No grass types, I believe. And he's going to bring in the Talonflame. And Talonflame is just a huge threat because with a Swords Dance up, it can deal a ton of damage. So really, my Rotom Heat is super important because it is a huge threat against my opponent's team. It does resist both stab moves from Talonflame, and with the Leech Seed recovery, I should be at an amount of health where he cannot take me out in one hit. So he is just going to go straight up for the +2 Brave Bird. I resist it, meaning that I believe it's only 90 base power after stab and resistance, and I am able to live with yellow health and basically take him out with a Volt Switch. So Talonflame is going to get taken down. Rotom Heat definitely being the MVP of the match, being able to counter a lot of my opponent's Pokemon. So I do take him out with the Volt Switch, meaning that my opponent does get the switch advantage, but I do decide to bring in Goodra because there's really nothing that can take Goodra's hits because I carry Draco Meteor, Ice Beam, Fire Blast. So it has a lot of coverage overall, so whatever he brings into, I should be able to deal well anyways with Goodra. So he does decide to bring in Genesect, just go for the U-turn just to deal damage and switch out. Does a decent 40%, and that's fine. I believe I do go for the Draco Meteor on the switch because it literally hits everything on his team, and he is going to bring in his own Goodra, essentially as Death Fodder or to predict the Fire Blast. But oh, I go for the Ice Beam, so that's also super effective damage against the Goodra, so that's really, really nice. But because the opponent is a Choice Scarf Goodra, he can outspeed me and go for the Draco Meteor, so I don't want that to happen. I'm just going to go ahead and bring in my own Ferrothorn to take the hit. Turns out he just goes for the Ice Beam, and I do take that really nicely, and I know he's forced to switch out, so I can basically go for any move on the switch, lead seed, or if I want to set up any entry hazards. And now that I think of it, with his Talonflame gone, he doesn't have too many threats against my Ferrothorn. He might have Fire Blast on his Goodra, but he carried Sludge Bomb, so maybe he doesn't carry it. And his Genesect probably doesn't carry Flamethrower as well. If it did, then he would have brought it in here. Instead, he actually brings in the Scizor to deal with my Ferrothorn. And unluckily for my opponent, my Ferrothorn is actually a physically defensive set, so this Scizor shouldn't be posing too much of a threat. The only thing that I'm worried about is if he does carry the Swords Dance Roost combination, and if he does, then he can basically set up all over me. But I do have basically an answer to his Scizor, and that is my Banette, because I have the Prankster Destiny Bond. So if he does decide to try to bullet punch my entire team, I have a Destiny Bond that will take him out, and Scizor shouldn't be too big of a threat. So that's why I stay in, just set up as many entry hazards as possible. There really is no downside to setting up as many entry hazards as possible in this certain scenario, even if I am set up fodder, simply because Banette is in, I still have Banette alive. So he does reveal that he has the Swords Dance. Most likely he does carry the Roost, but I'm not really afraid at all. But here he actually reveals that he doesn't have the Roost, he has the Brick Break instead, because his set is Swords Dance, Brick Break, X-Scissor, and another move, and he has that priority. So that means he has Bullet Punch as his fourth move, no Roost, meaning that I can set up entry hazards, and I can take down the Scizor to basically little health with extra Leech Seed recovery, and with the Iron Barb's ability. So in my opinion, I think my opponent did the right move, because it is a pretty good trade-off for my opponent, since he doesn't really have that many answers to my Ferrothorn, and being able to take down my Ferrothorn while weakening his Scizor is definitely a good strategy on my opponent's part. But because he's almost dead, I can bring in any Pokemon I want to revenge kill. I do decide to bring in Banette because I have the priority Sucker Punch, and I do outspeed his Bullet Punch, and I can take him out since it is a neutral hit. So Scizor does go down, and Banette is actually going to be a very big threat to my opponent's team as well. Not many people understand that Banette is a pretty good Mega Pokemon because of the Prankster ability. Since it has the Prankster Destiny Bond, you can guarantee at least one kill with Destiny Bond. It has priority, and it can burn Pokemon. So overall, I really like Mega Banette. He's going to bring in his Genesect. Genesect's best move it can deal against me is a neutral hit like Ice Beam or Thunderbolt, since I do resist Bug Buzz and U-Turn. And now that I burn him, his U-Turn isn't going to be doing much damage at all. So in my opinion, I think he should have just brought in the Gliscor instead of bringing in the Genesect, but that is his loss. I mean, he is just going to U-turn. I don't really understand his strategy there, because U-turn's not going to be doing too much damage, and every time he switches in a Pokemon, it's going to lose a lot of damage from entry hazard entry. So his Goodra is going to come in, it loses a ton of damage, and I can basically just kill it with Sucker Punch. So I think that was a misplay on my opponent's part, and he's just going to continue to whittle away at my Banette with just indirect damage with Toxic. So maybe I think that's what his strategy is, trying to lower my Banette's health constantly with the poison. But I don't think that's too effective as a strategy. He could just really just bring in his Gliscor, but I guess this is beneficial for me because a lot of his threatening Pokemon are just losing residual damage from entry hazards. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Sucker Punch, just deal as much damage before he tries to take me out with the Ice Beam or Thunderbolt, but he actually just goes for the U-turn again. So I'm not really sure why he did that, and he's just finally going to bring in the Gliscor. So I am actually going to live the poison, and this puts me at an opportune position, because now that I survive, I can actually go for the Destiny Bond, and I can take down the Gliscor after he takes me out with an Earthquake. And so basically, this Banette just destroyed half of his team. Basically kills his Genesect, because that's going to die after switch-in. Killed his Scizor, and this Gliscor is going to get taken down by the Destiny Bond. So this was absolutely beautiful. Banette just wrecking as well as my Rotom Heat. And that's going to be basically the game, I believe, because Genesect is his last Pokemon, and that's going to die to entry hazards, and I still have a couple of Pokemon left. I'm just going to bring in my Vivillon just to get some cameo, and that is going to be the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Feel free to leave a like, a favorite, and a comment. And yeah, stay tuned for the comment question of the day. Also, if you guys haven't checked my Twitter and Facebook accounts, feel free to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle and stay tuned for the next battle. Peace.